Once again, I'm going to wait a little bit here until I pop up over there just to make sure that the lag doesn't lag in the lagging. The laggers with the leg lagging should certainly be non-laggers or something to that effect. Either way, I'll give it a few seconds. I was supposed to go on Sunday and it didn't happen, and I was supposed to go on Monday and it didn't happen. Maybe tonight. Maybe tonight. And somebody's already here. So, hi, whoever's there. Hello. Hi there. Once again, it might just be me. Does it count if it's me? I don't even know. Okay, and now, here I am. Here I am. I'm live. It's the Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. So, I'm going to go ahead with the chat from, was it Thursday, I guess, right? The few messages that I didn't get to. As you all know, you type and you engage, and I want to get to it, so I'm going to get to it. Okay, so let's go. Though nobody's here right now, maybe someone will join in the... okay, see, so now it went from 1 to 0, which means that it's not me, because I think I'm continuing here. Yes, so it's not me. So somebody was here. Oh, and now they're back. I don't know what's going on, but hi there. Hello. All right, I'm just going to dive right into the chat. No, you know what? I won't dive into the chat. I'll say one thing. I'll say one thing about the 7 days of feasting for the bride and groom. There's the traditional 7 days of feasting. Right after the wedding, you have 7 days, including the day of. So the day of the wedding plus 6, if you will. And the final one for the wedding that I was at last week was last night. And I loved being there. I loved every minute of it. It was so wonderful to be with the bride and groom. They say that the bride and groom are like royalty. They say that the bride and groom are like a king and queen. And it's this idea of authority, of influence, of... though they're not actually king and queen, they're royalty in the sense that they've made a union and a bond, a covenant between themselves and between God. And in the same way, kind of, there's the king of Israel and what the king represents, or the queen, right? That certain divine revelation that comes through them. And there's this ability when there's a union, right? A sacred, a holy union, a covenant between a man and a woman. There's this idea of being able to bring new life, literally and spiritually, if you will, into creation through that union, through that bond, that covenant. And a king, when they accept the crown, they kind of embody a divine revelation, which is akin, if you will, to the divine feminine presence, malchut, or hey, hello there, hi, help you, all right, I will help you if I can. Carlito Babito, good to see you. How may I help you? I don't know if I can, but do let me know, and I'll do my best. So just shoot a message, and I'm here for you, man. All right, but for now, until you say what it is that I might be able to help you with or not, I'm going to keep going with the chat from Thursday night. Sneezer said, the saying truth cannot be destroyed became a frequent test, and they made the ark to protect it. So I don't recall if we were discussing truth. I know that we were discussing the ark and what was in the holiest of holies, and we were discussing whether in the ark it was just the 2 tablets or the 2 tablets and the previous smashed tablets, if you will. So Sneezer says, yes, I remember there being some other artifacts. I don't remember the details. Right, so followers of Yeshua and Christians, he says later, also some believe he said that the Holy Grail was put in. And I mentioned at the time that the Holy Grail, I never really gave it any thought, since I'm not a Christian, until I read the Da Vinci Code. And that idea of an artifact symbolizing the feminine presence, the divine female, right? That's something which also obviously does exist in the Hebrew faith. And since I'm not a follower of Yeshua, the artifacts such as the Holy Grail don't mean a thing to me, but to those who follow Christianity, to those who follow Yeshua, there are people who say that it was either the blood that poured out of him that was collected in the cup, or the cup that he used at the Passover Seder, what's known as the Last Supper, right, in the New Testament. So I personally don't think it was there. I don't think anything else was added to the holiest of holies. But let's see if I remember offhand, because I usually miss one. But right in the holiest of holies, what did we have? We had a jar of manna. We had the anointing oil. We had the rod of Aaron, which flowered. We had the Ark of the Covenant with two tablets and smashed tablets. And was there one other thing? There must have been one other thing. What am I forgetting? I might remember. You need help. Yes, I do. Please, Bella. I love the name, first of all. Bella means beauty, correct? So, help me. Help me, Bella. I need your help. If you could just take a few seconds, whoever you are, wherever you are, Bella, take a few seconds and send me some positive vibes. Send me some good energies that I may be a better person than I am today. So, here, you can help me out. And you can help me out, right? BMXers is in the house. Hello, BMXers. Hey, I like your yarmulke hair. Come through for Hanukkah. I don't celebrate, I'm just rapping, but won't mind if I did. But I won't mind if anybody did. Right, so that reminds me of Adam Sandler, right? Put on your yarmulke, it's time for Hanukkah. He had a few of those, if I'm not mistaken, but the original one where he names, let's say, which one? Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock. I enjoyed the first one. I don't know about the other ones. But, drink your marijuana, drink your gin and tonica and smoke your marijuana if you really, really wanna, even though it's not Hanukkah. So continuing the deep dive, the chat from Thursday. Sneezer continued and said, Spirit is only part of God, like anything else that can be described. So, right, I'm very much a fan of the words. If it can be described, if it can be perceived in any one of the senses or anything that has to do with my existence, my reality, my being, that means essentially that it's not God, only a revelation of God. So I don't know God, I only know how God reveals himself to me, and that's through anything and everything, basically, right, pretty much. Now, as for spirit, I know that Christians and followers of Yeshua have their own definition of what Holy Spirit is and what maybe non-Holy Spirit, if you will. And we have in the Hebrew faith, we have the spirit of sacredness, Ruach HaKodesh, we have the spirit of prophecy. We have spirit as one of the, let's say, divine revelations which makes man live, traditionally associated with the heart and the heartbeat. Again, not something that is physically in the heart, but it's associated with the heart, much like the nephesh associated with the blood and the soul associated with the mind or the brain. So you have different revelations of the Most High that make up this image of God, 3 of them which we acquire through life, and another 2 which we might acquire if we merit it. But the basic 3 are, right, what's in the blood and what's in the heart and what's in the brain or mind. And there's a difference there, I know, but I'm just, for the sake of brevity, I'm going to do this. Bella, come on. And Carlito Babito, come on, give it to me. Come on, you're here, unless you left. Hi, people. Hello. All right, so Sneezer says God equals mind plus body plus spirit. So again, he's a follower of Yeshua, so he probably speaks of the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, which I don't follow and I don't believe in it. I believe that there is the Creator, which is unknowable, unfathomable, untouchable, unthinkable, and then there's creation, which is pretty much everything else. And while there is something that can be perceived as a bridge, if you will, between the Creator and creation, it's something that is so much like the Creator, though it isn't, but it is so much like the Creator, it is so close. It's like holding a candle next to the sun, where, sure, the candle is there, but next to the light of the sun, the light of the sun sort of swallows it up. And so it's significant but insignificant, because somebody needs to be holding that candle, and yet next to the light of the sun, you can say that that candle is dark. Let's put it that way. And the Zohar says something along those same lines. So let's see. One cannot live on bread alone, meaning food, said Sneezer. You cannot see God, he said. No body can fully contain God. Yet God, he said, is in all things. Right, revealed in all things, not actually God. And that's where me and many other people differ. Cody Rhodes. Hi, Cody. How you doing? Good to have you on board. Good to have you indeed. So Sneezer says, could you lower that, man? Thank you. So Sneezer said, thus to see anything is also to see God. Just incompletely, he says. Okay, so, well, if he were here, maybe he is here, maybe he'll be here later, or maybe he'll watch this. There's, you know what, I'll continue because he kept going. He said, the only truth most people agree on, Sneezer said, is I know nothing, yet nothing cannot be known. I know nothing, yet nothing cannot be known. That's a truth most people agree on, according to Sneezer. Let's see if I can just say that one more time here. I know nothing, yet nothing cannot be known. Okay, so it's a kind of paradox, if you will. But yes, if you're talking about creator and creation, and if you're talking about mankind, right, humanity being in the image of God, there is something paradoxical about it, but I don't, or at least there can be. There is the capacity, right, there is the ability for it to be paradoxical, but I don't think it's paradoxical at all, because I make a very clear distinction between creator and creation, and someone like Sneezer, who's a Christian, might not do that at all, right? So to wit, that Christians believe that God actually came down here in physical form, where I don't believe that ever happened, not even a bit, not even once. Yet I do believe that there are people, human beings, living and those who are dead, who did embody that image of God, that divinity that's inside of them to such a degree that they were truly instruments of the divine, right, in fullness, right, flesh and blood, but truly divine in their nature, other than the human nature. Someone like Moses comes to mind, right, who's the anomaly, right, he's the outlier, but he still was woman-born, lived and died like a man. Okay, so he says, Sneezer said, I, however, know we exist. It's the only way to disagree. Even if we exist entirely different than we perceive, i.e. in a simulation. And unlike popular opinion, okay, sure. And unlike popular opinion, just maybe put a timer on it. I don't know when you're going to bed. Unlike popular opinion, said Sneezer, every action in fact has infinite and counter-opposing reaction, right? So that's one of Newton's laws of physics, if I'm not mistaken, that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I.e., he said, God did good, evil had to be. God just made the bad first, so good could come after. God made the bad first. Well, look, in Genesis and Bereshit, right, where there's the idea of order coming out of chaos, out of the tohu vavohu, as it's known in Hebrew. Right, Alon, some things in the chat. Where are you from, bro? Hey, Owl 101, I am in Jerusalem. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put the location here this time. All right, that's okay. Yes, I'm in Jerusalem. And where are you from, Mr. Owl? Or is it Owl? Yeah, Owl 101. Well, if it's Owl 101, do teach me some owl lore. Give me something, other than the fact that they are night creatures, predators, and that they can turn their head like 360, right? Or, well, C360. So give me some owl lore, Mr. Owl. Okay, let's continue here in the old chat from the previous video. Sneezer says, did you just suggest Moses couldn't hear God if Moses didn't have such a life of dedication? God can speak to whomever. God can't are two words that don't fit. Okay, so at the time I was speaking of the revelation in the burning bush. And what I said was that Moses arrived at the burning bush when he was 80 years old, already having lived a pretty full life of, traditionally, according to the external teachings, 40 years in Egypt, 40 years in Midian and Africa, and 40 years from the burning bush, the Exodus, and the desert, until he died at very close to Jericho, very close to the Jordan River, right in Aravot Moav, at the plains of Moab. Okay, so let's see. No, it's not that God can't. It's just that Moses, I think, look, God can reveal himself to anyone at any time, at any given moment. You don't necessarily have to be Moses in order to receive that revelation. But Moses being the great bridge, Moses being an anomaly once in creation, that never, the father of prophets, even though he was not the first prophet, the master of all prophets, I believe that he took many, many years in order to get to such a level, if you will, and to become so empty, if you will, that the divine revelation could flow through him in the way that it did. And I'm thinking it's not that God can't. Yes, God can speak to whomever, Sneezer said, and on that he is correct. But I think you need to be on a certain level in order to correctly hear and in order to correctly interpret, if you will, and to have the fortitude to be able to receive that revelation. Because I think that if you receive something that's too great, right, much like if you look straight at the sun, if we take the sun as an analogy for the divine revelation, you cannot stare at the sun for a prolonged period of time anyway, without going blind or suffering some serious long-term damage to your eyes, your cornea, whatever it is, right? Some long-term damage to the visual system in your body, because we are not meant to withstand that light for such a long time. To quote Jerry Seinfeld, I know Paula and Robert Harrison love when I quote Seinfeld, right? When they're talking about cleavage. And he says it's like an eclipse. You don't stare at it. You get a sense of it and you look away. Eclipse or the sun. I think it's like a solar eclipse. You get a sense of it, you look away. All right. So in that way, I think is the divine revelation, where you can glimpse it and you can, but you can't stare at it for a prolonged period of time without, let's say, sunglasses, right? Or without something shading you, filtering, being a buffer between you and the sun. In the very same way, your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience, your life, the spirituality which you have acquired, things that perhaps even you were born into, if you were designated and destined to be this, that, or the other, those can be that which you acquire and to shield yourself, if you will, and filter the divine revelation to you so you're not damaged. And we know that too much oil causes the candle to go out, right? If you keep adding oil to a candle, it will eventually burn it instead of giving it the sustenance, right, to burn. It will become its extinguisher. As we say in Hebrew, ribuy hashemen gorem lechibuy haner, right? Too much oil extinguishes the candle. So it's not that God can't, right? The divine revelation can do whatever, but it can be revealed to certain people in certain times, and we know this for a fact, with whether it's with ritual worship in the temple, the tabernacle, or even after the destruction of the temple. We have certain times that have a certain quality about them, where this type of revelation is revealed, or a different type of revelation is revealed, and it's true to different times of the year, it's true to different festivals, and it's true to different people, what tribe they are. For instance, right? So Moses being the example in that revelation with the burning bush, I think that yes, we were talking at the time about training and prophets, and did prophets receive divine revelation just like that? Or were they trained, right? Were there schools of prophecy? And we know that there were masters and apprentices, and it was an apprenticeship in a lot of cases, I think. And I believe that it was less prevalent that it would just fall upon you. I think that you had to have at least facilitate through your actions or lack thereof, you had, through your doing, through your actions, through your studies, through your wisdom, through meditation, through prayer, through readying this physical vessel and the soul within it, if you will, to receive that divine revelation in such a way where you will be able to receive it and withstand it, and you would have the fortitude, you would have the ability to comprehend, to correctly interpret whatever it is that you are seeing, because we know that prophecy, right, it can be a vision, it can be a dream, it can be something in the imagination, if you will, it can be some symbolism. Prophets received prophecy in many different ways. So I think you would have to be of certain character, strength, virtue, in order to receive that revelation and be able to go with it and truly fulfill your task in the best possible way, in truth, in righteousness, without going astray yourself and without leading others astray, which is a grave danger for anybody who claims to speak in the name of God. So BMXers said, yes, the one in Karite Street. Oh, okay, so he was talking about the oldest synagogue in Israel, the oldest shul in Israel, and he said that the oldest shul in Israel, the oldest synagogue in Israel, is the one on the Karite Street in Jerusalem, in the old city, Rehov HaKaraim, as it's known. Sneezer said the fighting is basically the atheists pitting us against each other, under the cover of inaccessibility of information, now vanishing, the pretenders and misunderstanders. So, you know what? I failed to remember at this time and recall what is it that he was referring to. I'm just gonna keep going with that chat. Okay, let's see. BMXers said, HN, because I'm taking a break from reading scripture, if you will, maybe forever, just don't see the point anymore. Right, so he said that he stopped reading scripture. Oh, wait, hold on. Why are you called Hebrew Nazarite? Because I am a Hebrew man who has taken on the vow of the Nazarite. If you want to look it up, It's in Numbers chapter 6. Go for it. It's also very famously the vow, different, but kind of the same vow that Samson was born into, and that is the vow that I took, a vow of Samson, much like he was born into it. I was not born into it, but I took it upon myself. BMXers says, by the way, do people stare at you when you visit the gym? No. I mean, hell if I know. Could be. You get all sorts at the gym, right? But I'm the only one with dreadlocks there, at least in the times that I'm there. I'm there 8 to 9, and so, I'm there 8 to 9 a.m. I usually see the same people every day that I'm there. So I don't think anyone stares at me. People are there, thank God, to just get their workout in and get out. There's not, you are an animal person. Yes, I am. I am very much an animal person. Thank you. Is that a wedding ring? Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
You're an animal person?
Of course I'm an animal person. I have a divine side and I have an animal side, just like all human beings. We are animals.
You are literally not.
We are animals. We are social animals. That's what we are. We're definitely animals. We are mammals. That's our categorization. Homo sapiens are, right? Mammals, right? Definitely. So yes, that's a wedding ring. So anyway, if people do stare, I've never caught them staring. People are there to, I don't even see a lot of people recording themselves or whatnot. I know people say in gyms that's a huge problem. People always recording or taking photos and with their phones out. People have their phones out, as far as I can see, to listen to music and maybe, shoot a quick text or track their progress. But thank God, at least at the time that I'm there. Now, I'm there relatively early. It could very well be that at the time, maybe at times when there are other people there, I would be stared at, or maybe there would be tons of phones there. I don't know, but when the times that I'm there regularly, people get in, do their workout, get out. I think that's the way it ought to be. Not that I'm against camaraderie, but there's a time and a place, and in the middle of a set is not one of those times or places. So I don't know. BMXers, if you're ever in Israel, come join me at the gym and be my wingman and spot me, and also let me know if people are staring. All right, let's continue with the chat from Thursday. Sneezer said, we understand you don't have any faith in the New Testament, Hebrew Nazarite, but it does seem to be about current events. It's likely the most important part for you to read. Arguably, the gospel is the other. So I don't recall what Sneezer was talking about at the time. I read the New Testament once. The gospel was my favorite part. The rest of it, I had no connection with whatsoever. I read it to know, to know what it's about. But really, the gospel is the only thing that spoke to me, again, not as far as spirit or faith is concerned, but just as wisdom, as experience, as tradition from a different culture and religion and lore. And if you claim that Yeshua was alive then, and that it actually does depict his biography to some degree, and his and what happened to him, then yeah, it was a very interesting read. I might do it again sometime. Let's see. Hey, so Cody, you said hi already. Come on, give me something else. You said hi 3 times. I said hi back. Hi, Cody Rhodes. How you doing? Where you're from? Give us some wisdom. Give us some lore. What time is it where you're at? How are you feeling? Are you feeling good? Are you ready for it's what is it? It's the middle of the week, right? Please tell more about the Nazarite vow. This is kind of what the channel is about, or at least it started off like that years ago, and now it's just these spontaneous live streams. Or less spontaneous. Spontaneous in the sense that it's a live stream. Look, Numbers 6 and Samson in the book of Judges lay it pretty much all out. I just stumbled on your live randomly. Okay, so I'll give you the quick and dirty. The Nazarite does not cut his or her hair. The Nazarite abstains from defilement of corpses, human dead bodies, unless it's the Samson vow, which is particular. And the Nazarite does not consume grapes, raisins, vinegar of grapes, wine, anything from the grapevine. So, it's basically something where if a man or woman of the Israelite 12 tribes wants to become a Nazarite, the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, don't say, wait, what? That's what I'm saying. So, why would anyone defile? No, not to defile a dead body. To come close to a dead body is to become ritually unclean, meaning in the Hebrew faith, in the Torah, there are times when you are ritually clean and ritually unclean. And when you are, let's say, ritually unclean, you're not allowed to do certain things, such as approach the temple, make sacrifices, bring offerings, or engage in certain activities. And when you are pure or ritually clean, then you are allowed. And we are always sort of going between ritual cleanliness and uncleanliness. Of course, now that we don't have a temple, that's a different story altogether. But the Nazarite vow is one where, at least according to Numbers 6, there are 4 different types of Nazarites. 3 of them cannot come next to a human dead body, go to cemeteries, funerals. But the 4th one, so I took a Samson vow, so I am allowed to go near dead bodies, but I abstain. I don't go to funerals. I don't go next to dead bodies. The thing is that at the time I took this vow almost 15 years ago, 14, 15 years ago. And at the time, I was still in the military reserves, in the IDF, and I was a field medic. So I knew when I took this vow that there was a chance that I would come into contact with a dead body. And I did not want to have like a paradoxical vow where I may break it. So I took a specific kind of vow, which is unbreakable, which is for life, but I can come next to a dead body, and that's how that worked out. And someone I was talking to just last night, a rabbi, I think he's in his 80s, and he told me that it's very convenient that the Samson vow is still in existence, because the other 3 vows, sometimes you won't be able to go to a funeral, you won't be able to go into a hospital, you won't be able to go to a morgue, you won't be able to go to a cemetery, you won't be able to be, let's say, in certain instances, in the army or at a car accident where there are bodies, or in any walk of life, right? So he said it's very convenient, and I agreed. It is very convenient as far as I'm concerned, even though some might consider it highly inconvenient because it's for life. But that's what I'm going all in on this, and I hope to go to my grave still under this vow. But would I, if I took a different type of Nazarite vow, and I've known other Nazarites who did take the other type of vow, and they don't go to cemeteries, and they don't go to funerals, hospitals, nothing of the sort. Jesse, hey Jesse, hello again to you. Bro, can you tell me why the way to pronounce the name of Hashem was forgotten? Well, this is a difference of opinion, a controversy, a machloket. So some say that it wasn't forgotten, it was simply made hidden, right, put away, because one opinion is that the only time when the name of God would be uttered is once a year during the Holiday of Atonement by the high priest. And it's what's called the 72-letter name of God. You can look it up. God has many different names, so many different names, right? There's 72 and there's 45, and there are many, many, many types of different combinations of the Hebrew letters in this formation or that formation, which form different revelations. I mean, what's in a name, right? A name bespeaks a kind of essence. And when you call me Jonathan, then I say yes, because I know that even though I'm just in this meat sack, if you will, in this body, you're calling my name and I respond. To call on a name of God is to call on a certain divine revelation. So the name of Hashem, right? Hashem literally means the name. Now, that's one opinion, right? That it was the 72-letter name of God, which was only uttered once a year during the Holiday of Atonement, Yom Kippur as it's known, in the holiest of holies, and or right outside of it, and some say no, it was uttered every single day by all the priests who would bless the children of Israel as part of the ritual worship at the temple every single day. So it's not just once a year, it's every single day of the year, but only the priests. At any rate, they say that the way of pronouncing it was forgotten, as you say. I believe, personally, that it wasn't forgotten. It's simply something that is passed on now from master to apprentice and is not known to the general public. It's not something that would be written down. The 72-letter name of God is written down. I could bring it and show it to you right now, but how to pronounce it is a different story altogether, because you have the vowels, and that makes a whole different thing. Are you allowed to oil your hair? Yes, I am allowed, and I do so. When I put shampoo on my hair, I also sometimes use tea tree, peppermint, rosemary, well, if I have this, that, or the other. So yes, you are allowed. What you are not allowed to do is use a comb. You're not allowed to use a brush, but you are allowed to use your fingers if you want to go through your hair, make it tidy, separate it. And not all Nazarites have dreadlocks like this. Some Nazarites are very meticulous about running their fingers through their hair in order to separate before it locks up, but I wanted to grow my hair wild since that is one of the commandments of the Nazarite, to grow one's hair long, right? Man or woman, you're supposed to grow your hair, so I decided to just let it go and have it do its own thing. And for me, on a personal level, it was truly, no, detangling your hair does not annul the vow. Detangling your hair is just something that you're not supposed to do. Were there a high court of elders here in Jerusalem, and there isn't, but were there a high court, and there would be witnesses who would warn me, don't cut your hair, don't pull your hairs out, don't separate the roots from the scalp, and I would, then I believe the punishment is not that the vow is annulled, not even if it was for a set period of time as opposed to one that you take for life. Even if it's for a set period of time, the only way by which a Nazarite is defiled and has to start counting over, if they took it for a set period of time, like 30 days, 6 days, 60 days, 7 years, whatever it is, 50 years, is if they come into contact with a dead body when they are not supposed to. So again, a Samson Nazarite doesn't have this problem. But, so Hatarat Nidarim is annulling a vow. And that's something that you can do with different kinds of vows, but not the Samson vow. It is unbreakable. There are obviously loopholes in rabbinic law, and there is a way to do it after all, but I don't see myself doing it. I don't plan on doing it. And you're not the first one who asked me about Hatarat Nidarim, about annulling a vow, but I don't see it. So detangling, what you would do is, if there was a high court and there were witnesses and they would warn me and I would still be pulling my hairs out or detangling and thus causing hair to be pulled out, then I would be flogged. I'm not sure how many flogs it was, but yeah, you would be whipped. That would be the punishment, but your vow persists and it exists. Oh yes, I didn't mean the Samson vow, I meant general vows. Okay, so yes. General vows are different than the Nazarite vow in the sense that the Nazarite vow is one which is commanded, meaning if you are going to take this vow, here is how you do it. Other vows are ones you can take, right? I vow to do this, I vow not to do that, and they all stand. If you are above bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah, 12 years old and a day for a woman, 13 years old and a day for a man, then it is binding, and you need to go and have it annulled, what's called Hatarat Nidarim. Right, it's a commanded vow in the sense of, if you're going to take it, here's how you do it. Right? There are commandments associated with the vow. There is no commandment to take the vow. It's simply, if you're gonna do it, here are the commandments of the Nazarite. And they are laid out in the book of Maimonides, right, in his Mishneh Torah, and other halachic rulers, right, people who wrote down rabbinic law, who codified. You okay? Take it off.
Yeah.
Wait, are you? Oh, come here. Hang on. Hang on. There you go. Okay. So it's not a commanded vow per se. I misspoke. Right? It's a vow which has certain commandments associated with it. Right? Bound to it. And that's what we're talking about here. But general vows, first of all, nearly every Hebrew person does an annulment of vows, Hatarat Nidarim, at least once a year. Almost everybody does it at least once a year. On the eve of Yom Kippur, there's a prayer that's called Kol Nidrei, all of the vows. That's the literal translation. It's from Aramaic. It's spoken in Aramaic. Just put it there. It's spoken in Aramaic, which basically says, any vows that I have taken, I annul them now in front of you all, right? It's in front of a crowd, which act as a court, not a high court, but a court. And a court can undo vows. And this, by the way, is also a very, very significant thing, because when a man or a woman who are of age take a vow, it's something which is binding. The fact that vows can be annulled by a court of 3 or 10 or more, it says it speaks to the nature of the human being in the eyes of the Torah, and of the power, the authority, the significance of the words and of the high court, or the regular court, right, of 3, of 10, of 70, and the power that they have. So, I mean, that's like an aside on the power of speech to bind you and the power of speech to break your binds. Binds? Yes, binds. So, as King Solomon said, right, life and death is by the tongue it is held. Don't be stupid drunk while riding BMX, said BMXers with dreadlocks. I agree. I don't think you should be stupid drunk, and I've been stupid drunk in the past. Not for many, many years, but I have been. I know what that's about. And I can say, at least personally for me, anytime I was stupid drunk was not a good time. It started off as a good time, but it did not end up as a good time. And don't be stupid drunk while riding BMX, because you could definitely die on the pavement, in the street, in your home, in your yard. I don't know where, but you could definitely do a lot of damage riding. What's BMX? BMX is a type of bike. Let's see if I remember the acronym. Bicycle?
Masturbating stuff.
No. Bicycle? Oh, come on. BMXers told me the acronym like 2 weeks ago. What is it? Bicycle moto? Not moto. Ah! Yeah, one of them is awake. The others are already in bed, and he will be going to bed soon too. No. You can't be on your phone all night, man. Okay. All right. Let's see. BMXers says, so many people and or religions are against getting drunk. I'm just against the idea of getting stupid and punkingly drunk. Yeah, look. Drunkenness has a positive, happy, sacred, jubilant, joyful side, and it has a downright malevolent and bitter, vengeful, and nasty, forgetful side to it, right? A side that's just bad, which is why often in the Bible, definitely in the Psalms, definitely in the prophets, Motocross, thank you. So, right, we see that sometimes the prophets speak of wine which is of jubilation, and times when they speak of, no, people who are forgetful and people who are going against the divine because they drank wine. And the Nazarite, in the website Nazirut Israel, right, it was the Rabbi Nazarite Gavriel who wrote the book Nazirut Israel, the Nazariteship of Israel. And he speaks there a ton about the wickedness and the evil potential of wine. What do you think about Avodat Kochavim Umazalot? Well, what I think about it, right, worshipping different gods and stars and astrology of the bad kind. Well, to worship the stars and the constellations is problematic for the Hebrew man or woman, but I don't think it's problematic for those who, for whom it is part of their culture. Right? For instance, I mentioned astrology. There is the, let's say, pagan astrology, and there's Hebrew astrology. I hold by one and not by the other. Is there astrology of a good kind? Yes. The Hebrew astrology, you can read about it, though you may not understand it. Lord knows that I don't. There's astrology brought down through the book of Yetzirah, Sefer Yetzirah, attributed to Rabbi Akiva ben Yosef of the Second Temple era, or our father, the patriarch Abraham. So yes, there is a good kind of astrology, but there's a great distinction there between, let's say, it's a kind of guide, right? Let's put it this way. This is the best way to put it. If I were ever to want to find out more, no, the Torah does not forbid it. Whoa, okay. Wait, are you talking about... Right, so Hebrew astrology does not mean worshiping the stars and constellations, but it means that the stars and constellations in the heavens, they too have a divine revelation associated with them. And as such, you need to know that just like the entire world around you, the four elements corresponding to the four-letter name of God, right, the Tetragrammaton, there are certain things that you can pick up, if you will, and certain divine revelations that are facilitated through the movements of the stars, the planets, and where you are in relation to them. So if I ever wanted to get actually into my personal Hebrew astrology, I would go to a Kabbalist. I would have the exact, to the degree that it can be exact, time of my birth, the Hebrew date, and I would have him, or her, I suppose, right, converse with me and find out more about it. Now, the idea of Hebrew astrology in Sefer Yetzirah is very great. It's associated with different types of divine revelations, divine names, the months, right, the 12 Hebrew months, and different organs in the body and the way that they are 6 against 6, as it were. That's what it says there. So, it's not about worshiping the stars. It's not about even having them act as a guide or a kind of something that is something that's like predetermined, right? Some kind of a celestial determinism, right? We're not talking about celestial determinism. We're talking about where you are in relation to the divine revelation. Because if you turn to the east or to the west, things change along with you. So the universe is seemingly unchanging, right? And we are but a little speck of dust here at the edge of the Milky Way. On the other hand, because we human beings are created in the image of God, it means that we have that entire universe also within us, right? And we mirror each other. There was a Kabbalist, was he a Kabbalist? I'm not sure, probably, right? Who said that the man is a small world and the world is a large man, in the way that we mirror each other. The image of God is creation, and we, being made in the image of God, embody, to some degree, creation. We mirror it. I mean, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but there's, well, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. Okay, so let's see. Owl 101 says, regular astrology doesn't worship the stars, they use them for calculations. Yes, I know. But what you said is avodat kochavim umazalot. Avodat kochavim umazalot literally means worship of the stars and constellations. That's why I said it that way, right? But basically, avodat kochavim umazalot is worshipping false gods, false idols, worshipping forces of nature, worshipping the universe instead of the creator of said universe. So it's not that the stars, constellations, and their influence doesn't exist in the Hebrew faith. It's just that we are not meant to be worshipping them. We are supposed to be working alongside them, right? The Hebrew astrology can inform you a little bit about yourself and put you in formation through information. But it doesn't designate anything, right? You still have free will, free choice. It doesn't matter what star you were born under. Let's put it this way. Many people know the phrase Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov literally means a good sign or good star. It's not star in the celestial sense, but it's regular astrology does exactly that. Yes. Okay, so good. So that's what we're talking about. It's just that the pagan astrology is not part of the Hebrew faith. The Hebrew astrology is, which is why I'm just saying, right, but it's not fortune. It's not exactly fortune or luck. It's good sign, like an astrological sign, right? Mazal also comes from the root word, well, that is the root word, which means something which drips, like nozel. Nozel in Hebrew is liquid, something that comes from the highest point to the lowest point. And the idea is when people say mazal tov, it means that you would be that it would be under a good sign, right? When people say mazel tov, mazal in Hebrew many times is translated as luck or fortune, but the original meaning is that which comes upon you, right? That which drips upon you from on high. Mazal, nozel, right? So it's mem zayin lamed. By the way, says BMXers, you missed a lot in the chat of what myself and others said. Well, I'm not really done with it, but I'm here now doing this thing here with Owl and with Jesse and with you. So what do you say, guys? You want me to go back to the chat from Thursday? Let's continue the chat from Thursday, at least until something else happens over here. Okay, so let's see. BMXers said, by the way, I don't know what to make of this life. Not in a bad or sad way, though. Hey, man. I don't mean this in any cliche kind of way. I'm speaking from a very privileged and entitled position here. But life is what you make of it, in the sense of you can only play with the hand that you're dealt. You know, We are each and every one of us is born into a certain family, in a certain geographical location, into a certain culture or religion. We're stifled by this and liberated by that. And we are a certain amount of IQ, right? We have a certain amount of height. We have a certain amount of looks and appearance. Our genetics. We can code for new protein through our actions, but that is if we discover, if we explore, if we push our boundaries, if we leave our comfort zone. So life is what you make of it, quite literally. Even if you are born into certain circumstances, you do have the divine will, let's say, pumping inside of your veins, and you have that ability, despite whatever situation you are in, there is always a choice. As long as you draw breath, there is a choice that you can make. It's not necessarily an easy choice. It's necessarily a difficult choice if it's a worthy one, I think, most of the time. But when you say, I don't know what to make of this life, I hear you. There's a ton of despair, a ton of tragedy, a ton of loss, a ton of randomness and chaos, where things just keep hammering you down sometimes, and you could be the most righteous, and you could be the most honoring, and you could be the most truthful and benevolent soul in deed and in word, and still something just... You okay? Maybe have a drink. Have some water, man. But still, life can just show up and just smack the crap out of you and leave you on the side of the road and spit on you before it kicks you in the ribs and just keeps going. It's a pain in the ass to be alive. And our sages in the Talmud, they wrestled with the idea. Is it better that a man should be born or not? Right? Or would it have been, can you lower it, please? Would it have been better for man to be created or not? And they go back and forth. And the conclusion by most of the sages there, that the conclusion was, it's better to have not been born, it's better to have not been created. However, now that we are here, we need to look at ourselves in two ways. First, we need to take a look at our deeds every single day, right? And we need to come to terms and to come to grips with what it is that we did today, what is it that we are doing, where have you been, and where are we going, right? You need to have that, to take stock of yourself, physically and mentally, every day, all the time. All the time. And the second thing you need to do is, in the good things that you did, you need to discern and see, how can I do that more? How can I make it better? Because the tragedy is always coming at you. The flood is always on the way. You need to build that ark. You need to just muster your courage, muster your strength. Whenever you have something good going on in life, it's a blessing. And you ought to take the time, I try and do this too, you ought to take the time when you're in a good mood and in good spirits, to take the time and be here now and pay attention and be mindful of it and go, oh my God, this is such a blessing. I would love this to happen more. I wonder what I could do in my life so I would be feeling this more often than not. Because obviously things are going to happen that will make you sad, lonely, depressed, even suicidal sometimes, where it's just, you're just left like with a life, right? You don't know what to make of it. I hear you. And when you say it's not in a bad or sad way, I believe you. But I also know for a fact that life can beat the crap out of you in a very bad and sad way indeed. So it's very important, the Torah says, to discern right from wrong. And in the things that are right, to discern within that and see what is it that you can do to avoid the bad and to bring more good that's not only good for you, because that's usually temporary, but good for you and your family and the community, right? That concentric circle that keeps on going in and out, right? Fractaling in and out of itself, as I like to say. Okay, let's see. BMXers said, Hebrew Nazarite, well, a vision/dream from the divine can and usually are mirrors and predictions of the future or current reality. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I mean, I don't remember, maybe you do remember BMXers, what you were talking about at the time. I guess at the time we were talking about prophecy. And Sneezer finished the chat by saying, and then I'll go back to this chat, he finished by saying, God's plan is not so difficult to understand the basics of. Well, look, it's laid out in the Torah, it's laid out in Genesis, as far as I'm concerned, and it's why Bereshit, Genesis, is my favorite Torah portion, even though many others have a lot of other commandments and good things and morality and lack thereof. But Genesis, it all comes back to Genesis, it all comes back to Eden, as far as I'm concerned. It's how I strive to live. I try to incorporate more and more facets of Eden to the degree that I can in this world outside of Eden, right? Into my life. That's also a great part of the Nazarite-ship as I personally see it. All right, let's continue back in this chat here. Zain Lamed, 37. Right, so you're a Gematria man? We can code for new protein. Yes, you can. When you do new things, you form new pathways in your mind, and you can cause actual genetic, well, not mutations, but differences to occur in your body. Right? So it happens mentally and it happens physically. I mean, when you go and you explore, when you push your limits, when you leave that comfort zone, when you do new things, good or bad, you're building new systems in your mind, right? The neural connections, right? The ones that fire together? No, the ones that wire together, fire together. Whichever one it is. And you also build new systems in your body, not new organs, right? But certain things, the genes are constant, right? But when genes turn on and off, and when they fire or not, right? What's the terminology, the biochemical terminology? It escapes me right now. But yes, you can affect, if I'm not mistaken, you can affect your genetic code in the sense of not that you change it, but certain things turn on and other things turn off. Some things are voluntary or involuntary, is what I'm saying. Just like in the human body, breathing can be voluntary and involuntary, eventually involuntary, unless you die from it, right? But you can choose to hold your breath. You can choose to breathe very consciously, through the nose or the mouth, in through one, out through the other, or the other way around. But I'm not telling my liver, right, to turn things into bile right now. I'm not telling my kidneys to filter things right now. I'm not telling my heart to pump. That's just happening. But I do have some measure of control and of certain degrees of control. And we do know that there are people who can hold their breath for amazing periods of time. And there are people who can slow down their heartbeat voluntarily, willingly, right? It's about training, and it's about building that system in your mind and in your body. But you are the one who is in control of many things, many things. So yeah, that's at least how I see it. I might not be wrong. Owl says you need tea. Not a bad idea. Maybe grab a cup of tea, put some honey in it. Dude in the chat. Forget it. Okay. Oh, I see. I meant this chat. Okay. So BMXers, you meant in this chat. I missed a lot? Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay. You know what? Should I? Oh, okay. So I missed a few things here. Okay. Let's go back to the beginning of this chat. BMXers said anything else, tipsy, etc., doesn't make sense. The New Testament, in the letters of Paul, says drunkards shall not inherit the kingdom of God. And there already, says BMXers, I got suspicious, and the fact that so many Hollywood movies are against drinking alcohol, in actuality, I think the verses in the Bible that speaks of drunkards refers to alcoholics, not people who just get drunk from time to time. Let me go through that again quickly. So,
did you like it well done or medium rare?
What?
When you used to have meat, would you make it well done or medium rare?
I barely ever had steaks. I usually more on the side of well done, even though you're not supposed to have a steak that way.
No,
you're supposed to have it medium rare.
No, like in hamburgers.
Oh, I never was at a place where I ordered a burger and they asked me how I want it, really, at the time. No, I don't eat meat, but at the time, I wasn't really into, I want this done like that or like that. So let's see. So he says, BMXers said that a lot of people and religions are against getting drunk, but he's against getting stupidly drunk. Anything else, it doesn't make sense. So it's It's the stupid drunk is what you're saying. But getting tipsy and being high, let's say, without blacking out, right? That kind of good alcoholic intake. Drunkards shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Well, look, that calls into question alcohol at large. We know that alcohol, wine, okay? People who sanctify the Sabbath on wine, people who let out the Queen's Sabbath with wine. Just yesterday, when I was celebrating the new, the holy and royal couple, the Chassan and Kala, the bride and the groom, and there were 7 blessings, and it was wine. And the chuppah, right, the actual wedding, there was wine. Because wine has a positive element to it. It is you, the human being, who either elevate it or cause it to take you really, really down, right? You are the one who are in control. You are the one who is taking in the wine. So I'm thinking when the Bible, the Psalms, the prophets, when they speak of drunkards and people who have mistaken and who have gone through the wrong path and drunk wine, I think it speaks to that state of drunkenness, not necessarily alcoholism. I think I disagree with you there, BMXers. I don't think it speaks of alcoholics. I think it speaks of people who either metaphorically or literally that the wine as it is represented, right, in the negative side, right, the negative facet, the facet of judgment and the facet of losing all sense of responsibility and all inhibitions, because losing, right, becoming loose, right, it's known as a social lubricant. That's a good thing to a degree, but there's a line there that you don't want to cross, and then I think it crosses over into that biblical drunkenness, if you will. I mean, people say that the fruit of knowledge of good and evil was grapes. Noah, famously, right after he exits the ark, he plants a vineyard, he drinks from the wine, his daughters sleep with him, that whole thing. Interestingly, right? Ammon and Moab are born from those unions of Noah and his. No, I'm sorry, that was Lot. Lot's sisters. I'm thinking of Noah. Noah plants the vineyard and drinks the whole thing with Ham and the curse. Later, with Sodom and Gomorrah, runs away, right? Tzoar, the cave, his daughters, Moab and Ammon are born. Moab later on gives birth to Ruth, who later down the line is where King David comes from. And so we see that even if things start off in a very kind of negative, incestuous, drunken way, they have a way of finding order, I guess, once again, way down the line. But I digress. BMXers, have I covered what you wanted me to cover? I hope so. BMXers says, life is what you make. Owl. You know what? I don't want to Google things now. But you know what? Hey, hold on a second. Just to see if I wasn't completely talking out of my ass. Let's see. Designer proteins, hacking proteins. So I'm not going to go into it now. I'm not going to do a whole Google thing now. But somebody, if you want, correct me if I'm wrong. Can we or can we not code for new protein when we go through new things in life? I'm pretty sure we can from what I know. I might be wrong. So, BMXer says, right, life is what you make of it, and if you don't make it, who's going to make it for you, right? Right? If not, im ein anili mili, right? If I'm not for myself, who is for me? Youths, says BMXers, quoting, yes, we have to teach them, and if we don't teach them, who's going to teach them for you? What are you sending me, videos? Okay. LOL, I meant to make it for him. Ha! No, well, I'm broadcasting now. Plus, he's old enough, he can make tea. He can make tea.
Make it for me.
I'm not making it for you.
Make it for me. Make it for me. Listen to your viewers.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
No, seriously though. No, come on now. I'm not gonna do that now. BMXer says, if I ever have children, and if you do want them, I hope that you do, because they're something else. I would also like them to be vegan, and as I told you, not comb or cut their hair, so they'll be like vegan Nazarites from birth. Well, interestingly enough, I don't encourage my kids to be vegan or Nazarites. I simply show them that this is what I am, and that's that. Nature can take its course. Their own nature will take its course. So, But you, BMXers, if that's what you're going to do, are you going to actually put a vow on them and have them be Nazarites from birth like Samson? Or no, I'm Asulin. Hey, Noam, how you doing, man? Oh, I'm sorry, not Asulin, Osin. Asulin. No, my man, it's not my brother. No, I'm Osiln. Osiln. I think you've been here before too. I think you've been here before too, as well. Okay. Everyone knows about God's plan, but who said it was a good one? Well, you know what? It's what you make of it, right? You can say that God is just a mean puppet master who is torturing the countless creations for his own amusement. Livriut, smalla. Or you can say that God created things but then went away. My elder brother, at least at some point, had that idea that, that there was not a plan. He just made creation and left. I can't speak about God's plan. I can speak about the Torah, right? The Torah is where we where I get, right? Anything to do with God, more often than not, I turn to the Torah. And we see that the plan was laid out in Eden, and now we are kind of stuck in between worlds, right? A world between worlds, if you will. And it comes with its own plan, I suppose. What do you consider to be God's plan, Noam? Do you consider it to be good or bad, and how do you see it? Do share with the group, if you don't mind. Why are grapes not allowed in the Nazarite vow, even if it's not wine? Because the grapes signify a kind of divine revelation, which is, let's say, the left hand, right? The hand that pushes away, the hand that is a hand of narrowness, the hand that represents vengeance and wrath and judgment and negativity, the hand that represents the... I can't hear you. What, you want me to lower my voice, or are you just telling me? Okay, so I'll lower my voice. Okay, let's see. So the grapes, right? For instance, priests must abstain from drinking wine when they are about to serve in the temple or the tabernacle. But Nazarites are not allowed anything from the grapevine, anything from the fruit of the grapevine. The leaves are allowed, the branches are allowed, but not the fruit itself, because it represents something that's not just drunkenness. It's the very root of that negative drunkenness. It's that very root of that which causes Noah and Ham to go through that whole thing, that which causes Lot to be so drunk that he sleeps with his daughters. That type of negative thing, that type of... Read your Bible. Yes. Now, you can think it's just a story, fair enough, but it's quite a story. I'm saying it. People, you could take it either way you want. Yeah, read your Bible, man. Okay, so that's why grapes are not allowed, because they are that very root of, right, if we're talking about knowledge of good and evil, it's that side of evil in good and evil. But like I said, so the Nazarite must abstain from that root, from that grape. What a sweetheart. He was so excited at the prospect of you making him tea. Are you an Aquarius? No, I am not. I am a Hebrew Capricorn and a pagan Sagittarius. BMXers says, by the way, I forgot to elaborate. No, alei geffen you can. The leaves are allowed. I just don't really like them because you can roll rice up in the leaves of the vine and right, put them in the oven, put spices and olive oil. I just don't like it. I like my rice pretty much straight up. I don't like it rolled up in anything. It's the same root. The fruit. And that's something that I sort of came across when I was thinking of the very same thing. It means that creation, right, in the beginning, right, it was all good. There was really all goodness in Eden. There was just the possibility of good and evil. Until that there was a sin, the botanical difference. Well, let's put it this way. If you read the Bible, in the story of creation, it says that God, on this day, the third day, it said that God said that the land should put out, right, that the land should let out a fruit tree that makes fruit. And when the land does actually do that. What it says is that it let out fruit-bearing trees. In Hebrew, it's etz pri or sepri, a fruit tree that bears fruit. And what the land does is a fruit-bearing tree. Etz or sepri, that is not the same thing. Rav Kook, very famously, as far as I'm concerned, because I've learned that so many times, he says originally, and this was the sin of the land, before the creation of man, there was a sin, a missing of the mark, that's what sin means, a sin, a chet of the land, of the earth. The earth was commanded to create a fruit tree bearing fruit, but it created a fruit-bearing tree. Etz pri or sepri, and it made an etz or sepri. So Rav Kook says that in the beginning, the tree itself, the bark, the root, the branches, the leaves, the flowers, everything about the tree was supposed to have the same virtues and the flavor and the sustenance of the fruit itself. But because the land missed the mark, it created such trees where only the final product, only the end creation, the fruit itself, is viable in the sense of that is the fruit, and the bark doesn't have the same properties as the fruit, nor does the branch, nor do the leaves, nor do the flowers. Just the fruit alone. So man was created from earth. The tree, according to Genesis in the first story of creation, the trees came before man. The man was sinning later, missing the mark, because it came from earth, which originally missed the mark on Tuesday. So yeah, edible branches and bark, but it's more than that, because some bark and branches and leaves and flowers are edible. What I mean to say is that fruit holds all the nutrients, right? Fruit, let's say, is that final product. Fruit is what is brought to the temple at the Feast of the Harvest, on Shavuot, right? Pentecost, as it's called. But originally, if you look on Tuesday, right? Tuesday, the third day of creation, God tells, in fact, maybe I'll do it quickly here. Let's do it quickly here. God said, okay, the water, okay. Here. What? Stop. Okay, let's see. No, come on. Come on now. Okay, good. All right, let's see. The third day. Come on, man. Now. Okay, here we are. The third day. Where is it? Is it the third day? Where is it? Where? Here. This is Genesis 1:11. And God said, "Let the earth put forth grass, herb yielding seed, and fruit tree bearing fruit after its kind." And then I'm skipping to 12. And the earth brought forth grass, herb yielding seed after its kind, and tree bearing fruit. Right? Different than what God said. That's from the JPS Tanakh. Right, so original sin, exactly. It's a very Christian thing, but the land sinned and missed the mark before mankind did. And part of the reason why we did is because we were also made from that very land, if you will. And so it was kind of already in us from the beginning, baked into us. And I mentioned in the previous video, or a couple before that I consider the real sin not the land, not the fact that we ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but the fact that we didn't own up to it and humble ourselves and say, yes, God, we messed up, we did it, please forgive, let's start over, this time will be better. But instead, what Adam and Eve, what they did is shift blame, and we all know what happened then. But yes, that's what I consider to be that root, which is why it's the fruit and not the leaves and not the branches and not the flower. However, the Nazarite is commanded to abstain from vineyards because they do have where it grows. But yes, you are allowed to eat, as a Nazarite, you are allowed to eat the leaves, but not the fruit, interestingly enough. So let's see. You're very curious about the botanical difference. I hope, look, I'm not a botanist, but I hope I answered, a little bit, at least on my end, as far as I could, which is not much. But I hope I gave you something to think about there, because I know that it really, really, when I first came across this and I developed it a bit more in my mind, because, my Nazarite vow, well, let's forget that. But I hope I answered your question a little bit on why the leaves and not the fruit. Okay. BMXer says, that's what I said. It doesn't refer to alcoholics. It doesn't refer to alcoholics. Okay. Hey, Make Straight. Hi, welcome back. Welcome back, Make Straight. Ramli XD. Hi, Ramli. How you doing? How you doing? Good to see you all here. So that's the original sin. Yes, indeed. Didn't say I want them to be Nazarites from birth, just vegan, etc. Okay, so it won't be the Nazarite chip, but it would be vegan, and it would be without cutting their hair. It might be... Right, vegan means you can consume grapes, as I love to do. Yeah, I love grapes too, I just don't partake of them. Paulo Gracia. Hello, Paulo. Welcome. You're new. Awesome. Always nice meeting new people. Welcome, welcome. Bienvenue. Well, they were bamboozled. Bamboozled by the earth? Maybe. The thing is this, right? We are made, humans, of all four elements. Earth is the element of, the kind that brings you down. Earth is that element which is tough, it is cold, it is dry. In the four elements corresponding with the four-letter name of God, the Tetragrammaton, it's the final hay. It's that last stop. And there's a reason, right, why we are heaven and earth, right? We are air and we are all four elements in the human body, right? We embody all of it. What is it that we give strength to? We are not supposed to decimate our earthly nature. We are supposed to take that earthly nature and elevate it, right? And get back to Eden conceptually and practically speaking in our everyday life, so we can later partake of the tree of life, which we have not partaken of yet. The answers are great. Good, I'm happy to hear that, man. I'm happy to hear that. Lovely. What the main reason, besides foods, etc., what the main reason for becoming a Nazarite? So the Torah does not specify any reason whatsoever. It simply says, if you're gonna be one, here's how you do it. And every Nazarite that I've ever met had his or her own story and spin, right, on how they got to the Nazarite vow, how they were called to it, what type of vow they took, and why. The reasons are very personal, very idiosyncratic, very intimate many times to the nature of the Nazarite who took the vow. So there are no reasons. Our sages hint at a particular reasoning in the Talmud, and they say that if you happen to be at the temple when the wayward woman, the unfaithful woman, the woman gone astray, is going through the ritual of the wayward woman, which appears in the Torah in Numbers right before the Nazarite vow, right before. If you happen to be at the temple and you see a woman undergoing that ritual, then that might be a sign that you should abstain from wine. That's what they say. I go into that in a previous video. I go into all the different facets of the Nazariteship in previous videos. But there is no reason. Each man or woman who takes this vow does it for their own reasons. That's part of what is so great about it, because every Nazarite that I've spoken to had their own thing, which I love. Owl says, what did you mean when you said you're a Hebrew Capricorn? I thought the Hebrew astrology signs were named differently. Yes. It's named in Hebrew. It's named Gdi. No, Hebrew Capricorn, meaning that you have the Gregorian calendar, right? Where Sagittarius is from the end of, what is it? It's the end of November until the third half of December, something like that, right? Until December 21st or 22nd. What I meant is that according to the Gregorian calendar, I'm a Sagittarius. But according to the Hebrew calendar, which goes by the moon, I'm a Capricorn. That's what I mean. Right, my Hebrew birthday would make me a Capricorn. My Gregorian birthday would make me a Sagittarius. So I go by the Hebrew one. I give some acknowledgement to the Gregorian one because I also take that date into consideration, which reminds me of Louis C.K., right, in his 2017 special. Right, congratulate Christians when you meet them. They won the world. You don't believe me? What year is it? Okay, let's see. So yeah, they are named. They're not. Actually, the signs are not named differently. They're not. Right? Capricorn is the goat. Gdi. That's what it is.
Greatest of all time.
Right, the goat. So it's named differently in the sense that it's in Hebrew, but it aligns with the very same constellations. Right? The same 12 constellations, the signs, the constellations of the zodiac are the same ones that are used, are the very same ones, and the planets, not counting Pluto, obviously, because it's a planetoid, not counting, I think it's also not counting Uranus and Neptune. It's 7, right? But it's 7 celestial bodies and not planets. It includes the sun and the moon there, right? There's 7. There's 7 there. So okay, but again, I digress. You forgot to continue reading what I was saying. No, I didn't. I don't think I did. Well, either way, I'm not sure where it is. Oh, okay. So, by the way, says BMXers, I forgot to elaborate. The Old Testament, going back to the alcohol, I think we're going to stop soon. The Old Testament says nothing about thou shalt not get drunk. And all of a sudden in the New Testament says you're not allowed to. Okay, no, you are allowed. You have the choice. The Torah and, well, the prophets, they say, you know what? Look, the fact that wine was part of the ritual worship at the temple already means a lot. It was part of every single sacrifice, almost, that was brought in. There was oil, and there was grain, and there was wine that would come with every animal sacrifice. So, yeah, the wine is definitely part of it, but again, it's elevating it, taking that thing which has the capacity for stupid drunkenness. It has the capacity to turn you into a mumbling drunkard. It has the capacity to let you lose all inhibition. But no, you take that wine, you take that alcohol, and you elevate it as you elevate yourself and your earthly nature, and you help to repair that original sin, right, of the land that happened on the third day. Oh, okay, cool. Dude. Right. Okay. If you have anything I'd like that you want to be called Owl, go for it. But I don't know. I don't know if I'll remember or not. I hope I will. But okay. Dame Owl. All right. Let's see. Okay. Make straight says, our heavenly Father, call us to be Nazarite, or do people? Oh, does our heavenly Father call us to be Nazarite, or do people choose to become one? And what's the difference between both? It's both. I can speak only from my experience and from, well, talking to other Nazarites. I felt called to the vow. I felt called to, let's put it this way. I don't want to gush over this too much, but I definitely felt called to dedicate myself in some way to God. And like I say, whenever someone asks, this vow that I took is a physical representation, a physical manifestation of a covenant, a personal covenant that I took, right? That I made, a pact, a bond, a covenant between me and Adonai. And the way that I solidified that covenant with myself is I said, I want to take on this vow. This will be, this unbreakable vow to the death, to my grave, will be the sign of my personal sign of dedication to God. Now, when the Torah speaks in Numbers 6 of the Nazarite, it says that the crown of consecration is on his head. That's not precisely what I was going for. That's simply a byproduct of taking the. Do you understand? Now, some people are called to it. Maybe some people, I believe anybody that chooses to become and really truly becomes one and doesn't do it frivolously, a whim. Although it might bind you if you do it, the Nazarite vow, if you say it and you mean it in your mind and in your heart, then it's a vow, which is why you need to be very, very careful when you take any vow. Shalom, shalom to you. I can't read the. Oh well, I'm assuming it's what, Hindu, or I'm assuming it's Sanskrit. It looks like Sanskrit. Let's see for a second. Yeah, so I can't read that, unfortunately. But hello, shalom to you too. I think you should read the chat in the beginning tomorrow night, says BMXers. That's really cool, says Owl. Well, you know what? Like I said, every Nazarite had his or her own story of how they came to the vow and you have someone like Samson who was just born right into it. And you had the princesses and princes of old in the Hebrew court, right, in the Hebrew kingdom, and they would make their daughters and their sons Nazarites from birth, traditionally. And once they become of age, 12 and 1 day bat mitzvah for a girl, 13 and 1 day bar mitzvah for a man, for a boy, then they can decide when they become a woman and a man, respectively, then they can decide whether to continue the vow or fulfill it on that day and continue on their regular life without the Nazariteship, not being under the vow of the Nazariteship. It seems, says, I can't pronounce it because it's in Sanskrit. I think it's in Sanskrit. Somebody tell me if it isn't. It seems that I'm not equipped with a key survival soul tool, which I find everyone else has. The effect is that I am the loneliest being on earth. Loneliness is a shitty, shitty thing. I thank God that there have only been several times in my life, a handful, where I truly felt lonely, and it was scary. Very scary. I mean, I've been with my wife for over 20 years. I've always had friends, even if I don't have a group of friends now. I've always had friends, I've had family. I was never alone, though I have felt lonely. But I know that sometimes being lonely, it can be just the most heartbreaking thing in the world. How can it be in a world with billions of people and I'm so lonely? And I do know that there's a loneliness epidemic now with the advent of technology, social media, everything you people know. You're on the internet, you're watching YouTube. I don't need to go into it now. There is an epidemic of loneliness, high anxiety, also a Mel Brooks film, check that out. High anxiety, depression, so many horrible, horrible things. I thank God that I never was lonely for too long, ever. So even if I had moments of loneliness, I personally have never experienced it. And now you're saying that which I can. Oh, it reads Arjuna Kalki. Okay, Arjuna Kalki. So Arjuna, or Arjuna, says that he's not equipped with a key survival soul tool that everyone else has. Can you name this? Do you know what specific soul tool you're referring to? You say that everyone else has it, but you. So can you articulate what it is that you are referring to? Make Straight asks, what tribe are you from? I am traditionally a Levite from the tribe of Levi, though I can't back it up with any documentation. It's a family tradition going back literally thousands of years that we are Leviim, we are of the tribe of Levi. Or do you have to be from the tribe or live to become one? As far as you know, what tribe are Nazarites? No, Nazarites are all the 12 tribes, any man or woman who are of age, if they take the vow, or not of age, if someone else takes the vow and puts it on them, or if they're born into it, any man or woman who are of age and are of the Hebrew people of the 12 tribes of Israel can take the vow, whether there is a temple or not, at any given moment, at any given time. All of the children of Israel, if they choose, can become Nazarites. So you don't have to be a specific tribe, you don't have to be a specific status, position, nothing. You can just be a regular me. I'm an Am Haaretz. I am ignorant. I'm not an educated man. I'm very simple, very, very lowly, but even I can take the Nazarite vow. The tribe of Levi, that is, thank you for welcoming me. Hey, you know what? I welcome anybody pretty much who is on this channel or, hits me up in the DMs. Hebrew Nazarite across the board. Hit me up on all the different social media platforms where I'm at. Hebrew Nazarite, if you want to chat one-on-one. There was only one person. I've been doing this for years. I had an old channel. This is a new channel. I've been doing it for years. There's only one person and one person only that I have blocked. And that's after telling him for weeks that I'm going to block his ass if he doesn't stop with his rhetoric, which was anti-Semitic and downright Nazi. So I had to block his ass.
Huh?
You remember? Maybe you don't, but you were there.
Sorry.
You okay there?
Please look.
I'm not looking.
Please, it's just.
I'm not looking. Save it. You can save a goal. You can save a goal. Oh, come on. I'm live here. Lovely header. It wasn't a header?
No.
I didn't see. I thought I saw a header. It was a what? Okay. I thought it was a header. All right. Arjuna, not everyone has peace. You're not alone. Definitely not alone. Definitely not alone.
Yo,
Ay, ay, ay. Okay, my only connection says Arjuna. Is it a hard G, a hard J? Is it Arjuna or Arjuna? Is it like a hard G or a soft G? How is it pronounced? My only connection to this world are my parents. They've gotten old, and I know they won't be here forever. I don't think I can be here without them. Hey man, I understand. Sometimes our parents represent so much, and with good reason. There are names given to the different divine revelations. And one of the two higher ones is father and mother, as opposed to son and daughter, which are lower. All right, you know what? I've been on for almost an hour and a half, and I'm starting to feel a bit, the tiredness, the waves in my brain kind of being erratic. So unfortunately, I'm gonna say goodbye now. No, you know what? I can't say goodbye now and leave you like this. So it's Arjuna. But still, is it a hard G or it's a J, so it's a Ju. Is it Ju or Ju? All right, I'm not sure.
offside.
You know what? I really, truly hope, Arjuna, that you will be able to, A, make use of the time that your parents are around. It's a great blessing to have parents. Not everybody does. Even as they get old, and it's difficult to watch your parents get old, take advantage to the degree that you can. Spend time with them, if they are kind to you, that is. If you have a bad relationship, far be it from me to say what you should do. If you have a good relationship, and now is the time in your life maybe when you're taking care of them, maybe not. I don't know if you live with them or not, I'm not sure. But cherish the time that you have with your parents. You never know when it will be the last time that you will see them. Give them a hug, embrace them, tell them that you love them, remind them of the good times that you had together. Try to ignore and don't sweat the small stuff. If there were bad things, try and make peace with your parents, because there's a ton of resentment. We all have resentment towards our parents. We all have resentment. Try and get through that. I mean, I'm assuming, right? I'm an educated guess, let's say. I don't think I can be here without them. That's your truth. I think it's a truth that applies to many people. I also think that you find that if you take the time to fortify yourself while they are still alive, you will be able to see that you can weather that storm. You will be able to see, I think, that despite the loss of your parents, whenever it does happen, may they be healthy and live long and prosper, that you will be able to do it. You will find the strength, I think, to carry on and make the best life for yourself. There's a reason why they brought you into this world, and I don't think it's so you will, leave it when they leave. I think that they would want to see you carry on and make a name for yourself, you know what I mean? But what do I know? What do I know? Okay, now I will say goodbye. I will keep reading this tomorrow because I see a few things came in. I'm going to thank you, each and every one of you. I appreciate your time, your kind attention. You could be doing anything else right now, any damn thing, but for some reason, You're here with me. We're taking the time. You're acknowledging. We are engaging, acknowledging these. Taking the time to try and become a little better, learn some Torah, share wisdom and experiences, and come together, right? Discuss faith and religion and philosophy and psychology and biology and all the things of which I know nothing about, but I'm happy to learn from you guys, from your wisdom, from your experiences, from what you are willing to share. I thank you. Until tomorrow night, God willing, I'll see you 10 p.m. Israel time. Goodbye for now from Jerusalem. God